We are live. We are live. Good afternoon, Livingston County. This is Amanda Schultz. I am the director of the Communications Bureau at the Livingston County Sheriff's Office. And today we are talking to two of our dispatchers at the Livingston County Sheriff's Office. They're going to give us who they are and their rank and how many years they've been here. So let's start off with dispatcher Lonni Carroll.
I'm obviously dispatcher Carroll. I'm a civilian dispatcher and I've been here almost 14 years.
I am senior dispatcher Matt Snyder. I have been at the Sheriff's Office and the Communications Bureau for 10 years.
Awesome, thanks. So we wanted to jump on today and do a Facebook Live because if you saw previously, I think it was last week, we did a Facebook Live with some of our Correctional Services Bureau employees, and it was a great way to get on and show our Correctional Services Bureau and kind of some questions that you may have or may not have. So we're doing the same thing with our Communications Bureau today. We'll be going through some things and we will be answering some questions if you have them. So if you do have questions, we're obviously monitoring that. So just shoot them into the comment section below and we'll make sure we are able to answer them as they come in. And if we can't answer them right now, we will be able to answer them. We'll get to you as soon as possible. So again, I'm Director Amanda Schultz. I'm in charge of the Communications Bureau here at the Livingston County Sheriff's Office. I was a dispatcher, or still am a dispatcher. I've been doing it for 14 years. Started as on the floor as working 911 and then was promoted to senior dispatcher in 2016 and then to the director's position appointed by the sheriff in 2018. So just a little bit about us, some statistical data. In 2020, we had 106,500 calls in 2020. Of those calls, 23,007 were emergency 911 calls. We are the main public safety answering point for Livingston County, and you may be wondering, well, that's a cool way to say it, but if you basically dial 911 in Livingston County, you will get the Livingston County 911 Center. There's a caveat to that, but that's something that can be explained at some other time. Our bureau consists of 18 full-time employees. I have 3 part-time employees, 4 senior dispatchers. So our senior dispatchers are the frontline supervision of our bureau. And we have 1 communication specialist who basically makes sure everything ticks and clicks in the 911 center. Very technologically based in the 911 center, as you probably can imagine. It's kind of, I always say it's kind of like the Starship Enterprise. So it's where things start, and these employees are going to be letting us know why they became a 911 dispatcher. So we'll start with Lonni. Why did you become a 911 dispatcher?
I've had an interest in emergency services. I was an EMT, and I've always enjoyed helping others. And being a 911 dispatcher actually combines the 3 things I enjoy the most: being on the phone, working on a computer, and helping others. It is all inclusive in those 3 things with usually excellent outcomes.
Good. Senior dispatcher Snyder?
I wanted to become a dispatcher. I wanted to learn more about the position. Coming from an EMT background and a fire background, I wanted to learn more about the job and how things are done. And that's basically how I became a dispatcher.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, to be honest with you folks, I didn't know what a 911 dispatcher did when I first started here. My brother is actually part of our office also. He's a sergeant in our Police Services Bureau. And he was like, hey, why don't you be a 911 dispatcher? And I said, well, I have no idea what they do. And I walked upstairs and I turned around and I was probably white as a ghost and said, I can't do this job. But here I am 14 years later. I'm very proud of what I do, and these guys are too. We have a great group upstairs, and we love the job that we do. Matt and Lonni, do you need any specialized training to be a 911 dispatcher? Lonni, go ahead.
To come into dispatching, basically a high school diploma, and then we actually are trained specifically for the position. We have to take certain trainings within a time frame once we're hired into the position, emergency medical dispatch, basic telecommunication. And then there's additional trainings that can be taken or offered. Am I forgetting?
Be a good communicator. Be good with a computer. Be able to multitask.
Multitasking is huge,
Mhm.
very huge. You have to multitask while multitasking. You have to have 3 ears.
Yeah.
One for the radio, one for the phone, and one for everything else that's going on. And obviously you have to be, you can't panic. You have to be calm under pressure. You have people that are crying or screaming at you, and you have to be able to get the information necessary to get the proper help and reassure the person that you're getting them help as well.
Sure.
So a lot of it is, there's training, yes, but then there's a basic disposition that you have to be able to do the job.
Right. So a high school diploma or a GED is all you need to be hired. The qualifications to be hired for a 911 dispatcher position. We do recommend, it's not a necessity and it's not a requirement, but we do recommend possibly some EMS or fire service background is very beneficial for the training procedures during our training academy. Matt is actually an EMT with a local EMS agency, and he's actually part of the fire department also. So he was a little bit better off on how to talk on the radio because of those aspects. But Lonnie did have some EMS experience. I had zero, and that is something that is not required, but something that could definitely be beneficial towards that your training. So applying for a position here at the Sheriff's Office, to be full-time, you do need to be on the civil service list. We actually just held our last test last Saturday. But to be part-time, you just need to apply. So on the Livingston County website, there's the employment application. Download it, fill it out, return it to the personnel office over at the government center. Once that's received at the personnel department, they accept it and make sure it's all good, and then they send it over to Undersheriff Matt Bean. Once the undersheriff reviews it, he forwards it to me, and then we call you in for an interview. And once the interview is complete, you are given multiple booklets. So our background investigation questionnaire, our polygraph questionnaire, that need to be filled out entirely and given back to our office within 10 days of that the interview date. Once those are received, you'll be contacted by our Chief Deputy of Professional Services, Jason Yasso, and he will set up appointments for a polygraph, a urinalysis, a psych test, and those will need to be successfully completed. Once everything is all said and done and everything pans out and you are a good candidate for the Livingston County Sheriff's Office, we have you come in and meet with the command staff, which includes the sheriff, the undersheriff, Chief Deputy of the Correctional Services Bureau, Chief Deputy of the Professional Services, Chief Deputy of the Patrol Services Bureau, and myself, and we offer you employment. So once that is done, then we move into our training, which I will let Matt explain more. He's in charge of our training program, our training academy here at the Sheriff's Office, and I will let him explain it to you.
So our basic training academy, if you will, is roughly 6 weeks, Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day for 40 hours for the week. We go through everything from policy and procedures, interviewing the caller, call taking skills. We do some mock dispatching. We spend about 2 weeks going over the CAD system to where we would put all the skills that we've learned prior to that together. We go over the phone system, the radio system, fire and EMS dispatching, the fire and EMS run card system. There's a lot of terminology that we go through, and we try to break that down piece by piece so everybody has a good understanding of that. After that 6 weeks is up, if they have successfully completed that part, they will move on to phase 2 of our training academy, to where they will actually come up to the 911 center here in Geneseo, and they will have another 10 weeks of live training with another CTO or a communications training officer. They will then go to a 4-on, 2-off wheel with that training officer, and they will basically be in charge of the entire console as a dispatcher would be. They will have a 30-day, a 60-day, and a 90-day review. The 60 and 90 days are basically up here in Geneseo in the live setting. After the 90-day, if they have successfully completed everything required of them, they will then go to the director and the sheriff for approval to be cleared as a dispatcher. And then after that, they will get EMD certified for emergency medical dispatch. And then they will attend the basic telecommunicator course through our training standard from APCO.
Awesome. So Lonnie's going to explain a little bit about what happens when we dial 911.
So when you dial 911, you're going to have a dispatcher answer. And our most important question is, where are you? We need to know where you are just in case the call is disconnected or something happens. We can at least get somebody to you and figure out what's going on. The best way to do it is to stay on the line, give us all the information we're asking in the order we're asking it. We have partners in the room so that when we ask questions, our partners can hear and see what we're doing, and they can get help started as well. If we have a CPR situation, if I'm giving CPR instructions to you, my partners are getting help started. There's a guideline we have of questions we have to ask in order for this to happen. And we do that until help arrives. So we are technically the first responder assisting callers. And then we try to reassure callers. 911 dispatchers are professional call takers. We don't have any 911 professional callers. So we do our best at keeping the caller calm and get the information we need quickly. So like I said, where you are is the most important piece of information. A phone number if we have to call you back for further information in case the ambulance crew can't find you or the fire department can't find the crash scene or something like that. We will ask you to describe what is going on to the best of your knowledge, what you can see. You're our eyes and ears out there. We're taking what you see and getting that out to the responders. Then we get the fire department started, the ambulance started, police, whoever needs to get going, we will get them started in that direction and keep you on the line as needed. So we just ask to follow what we're asking, stay on the line until we say that it's okay to hang up. It creates extra stress if you hang up the phone and we're still trying to figure out what's going on.
Perfect. As Matt and Lonni alluded to, all of our dispatchers are trained in EMD, which is Emergency Medical Dispatch, through Priority Dispatch International Academy. And this is basically, so there was a post about a week ago with one of our dispatchers who was giving some instructions for a chest pain call. So when you dial 911 and you have an emergency medical situation, there's going to be a bunch of questions that we're going to ask you. But this is not to make you upset or to make you infuriated. We are starting help. So please don't think that we're asking these questions and nothing else is going on in the background. That's when we talked earlier about multitasking. We have partners. We usually work 3 or 4 per shift, except for our midnight shifts, we drop down to 2. Our partners are working with us to get help started while we're still asking those questions. So bear with us. We are trying to get you the most beneficial first responders to respond to you, whether it be ALS or BLS or fire response or anything like that. So just bear with us and stay on the line with us and know that in the background we're doing more than you can see and more than you can hear. So with those EMD instructions, we've actually, both of these dispatchers have delivered babies over the phone. We've given instructions. Matt was on a blizzard afternoon one morning. And on the side of the road, she delivered a baby with Matt giving instructions over the phone. And Lonnie's was in the middle of the night with a delivery of a baby home. Yep. And they are 2 beautiful, healthy babies. And we're really, really proud that our dispatchers were able to give those instructions to the caller over the phone with being trained in that emergency medical dispatch. It is important to remember that the dispatcher's questions are important and to get you the right help as soon as possible. So bear with us, like we said, and do not hang up the phone call until the dispatcher tells you to, if humanly possible. So, all right, Matt, are residents able to text to 911?
They can. If for some unforeseen reason that you cannot call 911, you can text 911. The biggest thing with text 911 is it's not the fastest response and it's not always the most accurate response. For an example, we were doing a test with our program one night. The person who was testing had a Verizon cell phone. It took about 2 minutes to alert the system. And when we actually accepted the text 911 call, the phone plot actually was supposed to be at the sheriff's office and it plotted up by Burned Dairy and Geneseo. So the plotting or the location is not always accurate, but if it's the only way you can get to us, definitely give us the address as best as you can.
Mm-hmm.
But in an extent, if you can call, please do. That is the most accurate way to get to us. But text 911 is available if you absolutely cannot call.
Absolutely. Some of the PSAPs around the country are moving towards getting a text 911 platform. We right now, it's a web-based through West company, and we do accept them. Again, the technology is still developing, so it's not as good as if you pick up the phone and call 911 so that we can get that location of where your phone is, where you are. But it's developing, it's progressing throughout the years, so we're trying to do that. But if you can call. If you can't, you can text, but we prefer you to call so that we can hear everything that's going on in the background also. Let's see. What should a person do if they accidentally call 911, Lonni? This is a big one.
This happens so often, especially with Apple Watches and Apple phones. We get a lot of 911, we refer to them as pocket dials, that a lot of people refer to them as butt dials. But if you see your Apple Watch calls 911 or your phone calls, or you are trying to dial 991 and hit 911, please stay on the line. Don't hang up. All you have to do is say, I'm sorry, I was trying to call something else. My Apple Watch called you, whatever. Just stay on the line. Don't hang up, because hanging up will still create a law enforcement response, so that we will find you eventually and check to make sure that everything is okay and that it wasn't a call for help that was maliciously interrupted. Basically, we're just trying to make sure. I have had a call where someone called 911. It was an open line, and then it disconnected. We did send help, and it ended up being someone who was injured on the ground and couldn't call and talk. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, we do send someone just to be sure that there's not an actual emergency. So just stay on the line.
Mm-hmm. And does it happen a lot of the times where we as parents give our kids cell phones, and what happens with that?
Any cell phone with a battery or has a charge to it can call 911. Even though there's no service to it, you've shut the phone off, it has no service. There's a ruling out there that they have to be able to, it's changed a little bit now, but they can still call 911 regardless as to whether there's service or not. Mm-hmm. So we do get little kids, babies. Oh, I just gave them my phone to play with, and we'll talk to them, we'll chit chat with them for a little bit, but that will cause a response as well.
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of resources out there for as a parent to teach your kid how to call 911 and what 911 is really for. I had it written down here and I just lost it. So
teaching children when to call 911, yes. What an emergency is. An emergency is not that Fluffy ran away. An emergency is if mom or dad passed out on the floor and you can't get them to wake up, and another big important thing is most homes have cell phones. We don't have landlines anymore. So teaching your child that they can still call 911 even if the phone is locked, but teach your child how to unlock your cell phone. That's a big thing that when I've been going out to the schools that I found is that kids don't know how to unlock their parents' phones to call or call someone that they know. Right. So definitely teaching them when it's appropriate to call and how to call is big with children.
Absolutely. 911 for kids, if you Google it, it's a website that teaches your kids how to call 911 and what the reason is to call 911 for.
Actually implemented mock 911 calls with kids during the fire prevention program, which is usually in October. Some of the kids it's amazing how many actually know their address at such a young age.
Right.
So teaching the kids their address, their phone number,
mom and dad's names,
or any
not just mom.
Do they have a unique mailbox with a light on it, or they have an American flag on the front porch, something like that. Anything unique that can describe your house helps too.
Right. So that's what we have right now. Is there any other questions? I'm looking through the comments right now.
A good way to teach an address is to create a fun song, or even just make it sing-songy. That's how I taught our kids our address, was I just made it songy. There was no really, it didn't go to anything. It wasn't like, oh, Christmas tree or anything. It just was sing-songy, and the kids, they pick it up.
You want to sing it for us now?
No. Thanks for asking, though. Why don't you throw your address out and let's show us how it works.
Nobody wants to hear that.
So I just want to thank everybody for jumping on. Again, if you have any more questions, Catherine, thanks for jumping on. Joanne, Janice, Crimson Jack, thank you. John, you guys are awesome. So again, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask us. I will be jumping on periodically, and Monty's really good at monitoring the comments too. So we can answer any questions that you might have, but we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you have a fantastic day. And thanks for supporting your law enforcement, your fire, and your EMS community. We really, really appreciate it in these tough times. And everybody have a fantastic day. Thanks.